Awesome. So I can't be more excited to talk to you about truly bringing sustainability to scale. I think what we just heard was that we're all screwed if we don't really change on a massive level. And what you're about to see is two solutions that we've helped pioneer from the start. One, to help eliminate food waste and to decarbonize our animal-based protein system. And the second is to eliminate single-use plastics by utilizing seaweed. With a core key mission to actually truly understand how do we bring sustainability to scale, you need to recognize three things. One, we have to be able to fit these sustainable solutions into the existing supply chain, the existing operations and manufacturing capabilities of some of the largest companies in the world. Two, we need to be able to empower consumers, all of us, to actually be a part of the solution, to recognize that our purchasing habits do truly have an impact. And yet, the reality, we don't want to change our habits, we don't want to pay anymore, but we need to be able to have products that now actually have a net positive impact on the world, not a net negative. And three, it all comes down to capitalism. At the end of the day, money rules the world, and we need to create economically viable solutions for all of the parties, from the supply chain to the operations to the manufacturing, and then to the end consumer. And what I think is actually pretty interesting as well, I don't have a marketing background or anything like that, but from a climate change person, I've been in this industry for about 15 years. You understand our family's background. We've been doing this for 40 years. And what's actually pretty interesting is that we just have a climate change marketing problem. We talk too big about these big greenhouse gases and these kind of aloof kind of messaging, rather than actually being able to quantify what your purchases have and the impact that they have every single day. So all of a sudden, you start to think differently when you recognize that the pair of jeans that you're buying on a daily basis equate to 1,800 gallons of fresh water. That little scoop of almonds that you had this morning, each almond equates to 1 pound of fresh water utilized. Or the fact that I don't have kids yet, but when I do, we're destroying 150 to 200 species of animals every single day. 42 million acres of trees a day. That's just quantifiable. That just becomes real. You start to think about things in a slightly different way. And our whole background as a family is that we've built infrastructure. I think what we've all known and recognized is that, yes, we need to change. You can see the plastic in the ocean, you can see the wildfires, you can see all of those kind of bad things that are happening literally on a daily basis and just further intensifying. We don't need any more kind of white papers. We now need just to build shit and actually create the solutions that are actually able to scale and be implemented globally to actually create the better, more healthier system for us all. So the quick background on us as a family, my dad started off as a plumber about 35 years ago, and we've been entrepreneurs ever since. So he was literally installing wastewater heat recovery systems and boiler rooms at paper mills and greenhouses in the United States. Since that day, we've built about $4 billion worth of infrastructure. We pioneered the natural gas cogeneration market in the United States in the mid-'80s, which was amazingly environmentally progressive, using the byproduct of cogen, steam, to actually provide that to paper mills and greenhouses to make them more sustainable. And then about 15 years ago, when my brother and I graduated college, we got into helping to build, own, and operate large-scale solar projects. So we built about $500 million of solar projects as our first business, providing cheap electricity for the next 20 years to some of the largest companies in the world. We actually made Six Flags, which is an amusement park in New Jersey, the world's first 100% powered amusement park. But then 5 years ago is when we came across this stat. The fact that we throw away 40% of all the food that we grow. If food waste was a country, it would be the third largest greenhouse gas emitter. We use 20% of our land to grow crops that we simply throw away. All of that product goes to landfill where it creates methane gas. Methane gas is 86 times more potent than CO2. If we want to solve climate change, let's solve methane first. It's responsible for about 50% of the global anthropogenic increases of temperature. And we all know the first and best usage of food is to be fed to humans. The next best usage of that food is to be upcycled into an animal feed. No different than when we all used to grow up on our farm. We used to take our leftovers and feed it to our chickens and pigs and pets out back. This isn't rocket science, but many of us don't grow up on farms anymore. The global communities are way too big, the retailers are way too big, and the farmers don't really care that much at the global level. So how do we do so that now actually empowers the entire supply chain to think and operate differently and to revert us all back to the way nature intended to operate? So we actually provide designated bins to supermarkets. What you'll see up on screen, my brother, my dad, and I all literally found it a couple years ago. We started off with a Vitamix, literally. And this is now a $150 million production facility in Pennsylvania in the United States. That's the first of its kind, never before been done, a real large-scale solution to food waste. And what you see on the screen is not waste. We actually provide designated bins to retailers, one for the produce, one for the meats. The store employees actually depackage, and then we collect that food every single day. And what these bins are able to do is actually able to preserve the cold chain. So this is still food that quite frankly, you and I could still have a barbecue and make a salad out of. This is after any donations can occur, because the first and best usage of food is always be fed to humans. We put it through our process, and then this is what we are able to create. So we're able to take this heterogeneous material, create a specific recipe every single day. Up to 160 tons we are able to collect on a daily basis. And we convert it into what you see in the top right, which is a nutriently consistent, pathogen-free dried animal feed. What's so unique about this is that that can now go through the existing feed mill infrastructure of some of the largest poultry companies in the world. No different than their standard ingredient, a corn and soy ingredient. This can now actually go right into the existing feed mill infrastructure and finally bring sustainability to scale. But this is what we call, at least in the United States, which is a tragedy, this is waste. I think waste is a privilege. We need to just eliminate that word from our vocabulary. Resources are going down, population's going up, and there's a tremendous amount of inefficiency in the middle. We need to solve these types of problems. Think about all the energy and time and resources that went into creating this food. And now just to throw that food away, it's a tragedy. We have people literally at our production facility that say, hey, can I just take some of this home? That's the type of kind of fresh product that we're able to actually collect. So we're able to take a mixture of 35% meat, 65% fruits and vegetables, and put it through the first of its kind process. So everything that you'll see here is in a 100,000 square foot processing facility. It's all stainless steel, epoxy coated floors, fully automated from start to finish, 2 million lines of code, and every single piece of equipment in here is just a standard food processing equipment. We've just kind of taken this entrepreneur ingenuity to actually, how do we build something large scale to solve this problem? And so you'll see as these bins come in, it's fully automated, and we're able to truly create what ended up becoming one of, and actually the first ever USDA-approved, third-party verified, carbon-reduced products. So by using the feed to actually now grow our chickens, we now have the first carbon equation associated with actually just a standard piece of chicken. Once again, finally empowering us all to be a part of this solution. Simply enjoy a delicious piece of chicken and now save 4 pounds of surplus grocery food and 3 pounds of greenhouse gases. We just made climate change tangible, accessible, and if we can price it, which we do, right in line with all the other brands, we just made it affordable for us all to now truly be a part of the solution to help solve food waste. And from a marketing perspective, we kind of really nailed and focused on to the good for plate and the good for planet. The equation is actually on the back of this package. Analyzing and understanding consumer behavior, we said, great, the good for plate enables you as a consumer to have all of the standard claims that you know and that you love. No antibiotics ever, cage-free, 100% natural. And if it's grown the same way that you love and it's priced the same way that you want, now all of a sudden we can tell you about how we are good for the planet. And so our chickens are raised on this diet that includes a nutritious surplus grocery food so that you can fight food waste and combat climate change. And it was fascinating to understand the consumer mindset and the behavior that it's really making it tangible and quantifiable for us all to truly now be a part of the solution. And I think what's very fascinating is that on day one in the United States, when we launched this brand, we sold into the largest retailers: Target, Albertsons, Kroger, Acme, Safeway, Shaw's, all of these big companies. We're now being distributed nationwide through some of the largest food service companies. Why? Because we can now just simply send our feed to the existing poultry producers and enable them to actually have a sustainable product through their existing supply chain. So now all of a sudden, Google, Harvard, IBM, JP Morgan, even the US Senate is buying this chicken. Why? Because they can simply move their arm or their mouse 6 inches to the right and purchase this brand and not that brand, and now actually have a quantifiable positive impact on the planet. We like to say if one out of every 5 pieces of chicken was a do-good chicken, we would solve food waste in 5 years. That's it. We don't need to keep talking about it. We don't need to keep thinking about it. We can just solve it. Let's go off and collectively do that. And it's all predicated upon the fact that 90% of consumers are raising their hands saying, what can I do to help? How can I help better the planet? Just do 2 things for me. Don't change my habits and don't make me pay a lot more. Okay, well, can you eat a piece of chicken? It's pretty much that simple now. So this is actually how we actually just show up on shelf. So as you can see, we're priced in line with kind of your standard brands. Sorry, I'm from the United States. We have Purdue as our competitor here. But then on the right is very important. For the first time ever in the United States, we were able to actually quantify this carbon benefit so that we know that exactly how many pounds of surplus grocery food that we collect. We've actually overlaid that with the first real-time carbon accounting. So run no differently than financial accounting, not a bunch of estimates and life cycle analysis from this kind of global community. We said, how do we actually analyze every mile that our trucks drive, every BTU and kilowatt hour of taking the food and creating the feed, the distribution of the feed to the feed mill, and then the inclusion of our feed ingredient into the overall chicken's diet, where then we can actually then quantify and provide the largest companies in the world a true understanding of they purchased X amount of pounds of chicken and they saved the amount of pounds of greenhouse gases and food waste simply by buying this chicken. And to date, we launched a year and a half ago. We've already saved over 40 million pounds of surplus grocery food and over 5,000 tons of CO2. So this is really growing and scaling and truly bringing sustainability to scale. So that's food waste and animal proteins. So now let's talk about another company that kind of met about 6-7 years ago, and an amazing woman that was really focused on how do we eliminate single-use plastics. And Lolliware started off as a material technology with the one notion of how do we take seaweed, which is a carbon negative sink. The more seaweed we can grow, the quicker we sequester more CO2. And how do we take that seaweed and put it into the existing supply chain and operations of the largest plastic manufacturers across the world? Once again, go back to the number one problem. You can't ask people to really change their operations or change their habits. So why seaweed to start? Seaweed is, there's actually starting to be a booming economy in New Zealand. I think that will continue to grow. It's globally about a $14 billion business. It's projected to expand to about $28 billion. But seaweed's amazing from the environment's perspective. It requires no inputs, no pesticides, no fresh water, nothing. You literally throw out a line into the ocean and it grows at about 2 feet a day. Pretty amazing when you think about that from that capacity. Let alone all the additional biodiversity and also, of course, the economy that can actually be created from this. So 6 years later, with a bunch of PhD seaweed people that, quite frankly, I didn't even know existed, there's a PhD for everything, we have now actually fully pelletized this product into what looks and feels and acts exactly like a plastic pellet. Finally, truly bringing sustainable solutions to scale and asking consumers to do nothing different. And yet now, from a material technology perspective, we're talking about drastically reducing the emissions, improving the performance. And if you all know about paper straws, the performance is absolutely terrible, right? So now all of a sudden you have a product that actually works, no different than what you are currently used to, but now is actually sustainable. It's not only biodegradable, it's actually hyper-compostable. You and I can actually eat it if we wanted to, or our sea turtles can eat it. It's 100% seaweed. Even down to the dyes, it's just fully organic dyes. And so we just literally launched this product, but as you can see on the left, these pellets can go through the existing extrusion and injection molding equipment. And what that means is that we can do everything from not just straws, but we can do utensils. We can do the clamshell boxes. We can do everything that you go and see at the retailer of all those single-use plastics for all the produce and everything that you get from a delivery person coming to your door. All of that can now be seaweed. That's what we're talking about, a revolutionary change to the way society currently operates without changing society at all from how they operate. So what we can take on the left, and we hope to actually, come to New Zealand and actually kind of really figure out how we all collectively partner together, because I think there's a real, that will continue to grow. Seaweed's already used in cosmetics and fragrances and so many other inputs that we have a unique algorithm and an AI kind of perspective to quantify what we're driving towards from the end put of what type of structural integrity and material we are wanting to create. And that AI takes over as to understanding what specific input of seaweed we actually really need. There's a whole large variety of different seaweeds. But what we can take on the left, we can now create what you see on the right, and on the bottom left is literally how plastic straws are manufactured. We do it at the same speed, the same temperature, and then the same output of plastic. This is about a revolution that now we can all be a part of. Most importantly, we can go to all of the largest coffee chains and say to them, nothing changes from your supply chain, nothing changes from your volume. You can now get the same product through the same supplier. Now just ask the supplier to use these pellets and not the plastic pellets. So this is actually what it looks like for first. These are scaling globally, and I think hopefully it will be a part of the initial kind of understanding that we can truly all be a part of solutions, whether it be chicken, whether it be straws, or everything else in between. I think from a sustainability at scale perspective, I'm a kind of relatively young entrepreneur, but been around the block for a while, building a lot of big infrastructure and talking to some of the largest corporations. We're trying to change. I think it's coming down to, at the end of the day, can consumers truly convince corporations and manufacturers that they're desiring these types of products? And I think that recognition that what you are purchasing on a daily basis does truly have an impact and can truly change the end producers, I think is really powerful and quite frankly, what kind of gets me up every day. I'll leave it with kind of one of my favorite questions that was ever asked to me. People kind of ask all the time, why do you do what you do? And it was a simple question that was asked to me during one of these conferences, and a gentleman stood up in the back and came up and said, I have one question. What is your dash? I said, dash? I have no idea what the hell you're talking about. He goes, everyone in this room is defined by a dash. You have a dash, you have a dash, I have a dash. Everyone has a dash. And I said, sir, with all due respect, I don't know what a dash is. And he goes, puts his arm around me and says, the day that you die, you have your gravestone. You have the name that you're given, the day that you're born, dash, the day that you're dead. Your dash is your legacy, your contribution to society, and how much good you can kind of really provide to everyone recognizing that we absolutely need to change, that we have to incorporate the people, the planet, for all the betterment of us all, and for all of us kind of going forward. Thank you.